The CoinWeek Podcast is brought to you by PCGS. The PCGS Members Only Show will be held from Wednesday, February 22nd to Friday, February 24th, 2023 at Park MGM in Las Vegas, Nevada. PCGS members can take advantage of this exclusive event to buy and sell coins, have their coins graded on site, and talk directly with PCGS representatives who will be on hand to answer your questions. In this episode of the CoinWeek Podcast, I speak to Dana Samuelson and Doug Davis about the work the coin industry is undertaking to assist the federal government in fighting counterfeit coins. You'll hear the latest information on how that fight is going next on the CoinWeek Podcast. So I'd like to thank Doug Davis from the Anti-Counterfeit Education, Foundation, right? You're right. And Dana Samuelson from American Gold Exchange. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we're going to talk today about the importance of the work that the ACEF is doing in regards to combating the scourge of counterfeit bullion and collectible coins, and how that fight has gone from just knowledgeable collectors educating each other about what to look for to involving the federal government's law enforcement, the Secret Service, and other levels to try to put a stop to this. And I think most collectors have an idea that there are fake coins out there, but I don't think they realize the scope of the problem. A few years ago, I talked with Beth Deisher, who was at the time heading the Anti-Counterfeiting Task Force, the precursor to the current organization. And she had some very eye-opening details about just the industrial scale of this issue. And I'm sure in the years since, it's just gotten worse. And we may have, I don't know, we'll find out if we took a breather during the COVID sort of a quarantine period, or whether it was just still proliferating at that point. We had a national coin shortage, so it seems like a perfect opportunity to try to pass some fake circulating coins. So we're gonna let these two gentlemen share their experience and expertise in this area, and try to drill down in this topic, so you'll be better informed, and you'll know who's fighting this fight for you and how you might be able to contribute to the ultimate goal of succeeding against this. So thank you, gentlemen.
It's my pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for having us, Charles.
So yeah, Dana, my sentiments exactly. We appreciate the opportunity to provide some education in the area of these of counterfeits, which is plaguing the market right now.
So Dana, tell me how you got involved in this fight, and why as a coin dealer you think that this is like a sort of an existential threat to not only the hobby but to the overall industry, and you know, we're talking about bullion investors, we're talking about coin collectors, we're talking about you know, even somebody going to spend money in the public space.
Well, thank you. You know, I was fortunate to be on the Professional Numismatists Guild board for 12 years, and I was president of the PNG from 2015 to 2017. And it was under my watch that we became aware that there was a proliferation, small but growing proliferation of spurious bullion products coming into the U.S. market, primarily from China. And I was, you know, I've been in the business since 1980, and I had the good fortune of working for Jim Blanchard early in my career. And Jim Blanchard was the man who helped to found ICTA, the Industry Council for Tangible Assets, by calling 10 of his trading partners into a meeting in New Orleans and said, "You're going to each give me $10,000, and we're going to start this lobbying organization." So when I was presented with the problem of this industrial scale counterfeiting issue growing at the April 2016 Central States Coin Show, There were about 5 or 6 of us in the room. Kathy McFadden, who was the head of ICTA, Beth Deischer was there, Bob Brueggemann, the executive director of ICTA, was there. And I just said, hey, we've got a problem here that's bigger than just us coin dealers. We need to have Secret Service involved, Homeland Security involved. We know some of the mints are already responding to the problem. The Canadian mint had already started to put frosted little maple leaves on the back of their gold and silver bullion items. So I said, we need a task force. And it was just cloning Jim's idea from back in the early 80s to create ICTA. I said, we need a task force. And Kathy McFadden, head of ICTA at the time, said, well, I'll spearhead it. We have the time and effort to do that. And Beth Deischer was actually formidable, incredible in helping to put the task force together. This was in April when we had our July meeting around the ANA in Los Angeles that year. We had about 50 people in the room, including Homeland Security and Secret Service, who have stepped to the plate. You know, prior to that, Secret Service thought that a counterfeit $100 bill was not as big a problem as a counterfeit, 1 ounce gold eagle that has a $50 face value and a street value at the time of about $1,300. They've since, come to the realization that this is a big problem. Now it's small, but it's growing, and it's not going to stop, which is why it's very important that the work of the task force continues to be supported, and people understand that there is a problem, and they do need to understand, what they can do to sidestep it and prevent themselves from having a problem as ultimate consumers. Now, as a dealer, we can pretty much easily, most of the time, easily tell that a bullion item or a vintage coin is spurious, but it's not easy for the public that doesn't see near the volume that we do. So that's probably the long part of the short story you want me to say, Charles. That's how it was created.
And Doug, what are you seeing now as far as the threat to the market and the type of material that's coming in, and sort of the buy-in that you're getting from the federal authorities?
Sure. Well, first of all, the mission of ACEF and the work that were being done was, first of all, was to, educate really law enforcement and legislators and everything in regards to the big problem, and then providing them with resources to help them, try to not solve the problem, get the interest there, and them realizing how big of a problem it is. And the key to it is it's gotten to the point where, in my opinion, it's compromising the integrity of the numismatic and the precious metals industry. And not only that, but also the U.S. monetary system, because the amount that's being flooded in the U.S. marketplace and everything. But right now, we're seeing just about everything that's coming across in regards to the reports we get, the dealers that are calling in, and what they're seeing coming across the corner. The third-party grading services have done an outstanding job coordinating with us and providing with us with information to move forward in some of the investigations that we're involved with. But it runs the gamut, not just numismatic coins, but the bullion coins, and it's not just the U.S. products; it's worldwide mints, around the globe. So it's creating a twofold problem from law enforcement standpoint, and then the problem within our industry. And like Dana pointed out, is that if you are a big dealer and you see this kind of stuff all the time coming across the counter, that's great for the big dealer. But counterfeiters now, and the people that are have turned and seeing the opportunity to prey on individuals that are uneducated, they are using some unscrupulous means to use that opportunity, to even going out to the mom and pop shops that say that they're in the suburbs of the major cities that don't see this type of counterfeits coming across the counter like the other bigger dealerships do. So it's creating a problem for them. And then it's even creating a bigger problem for the normal investor or the numismatic collector. But what created the biggest problem that we saw and Dana pointed out when we really got started in 2017, and there was always a previous history of counterfeits on the market, but it's just blown up exponentially in the last 5 years. But what really sparked it was when COVID hit, and people were uncertain of the U.S. economy and what was going to happen. They were uncertain about what was going to happen with the banking industry and everything. And I think a key to that is that when the banks started shutting down, you couldn't go into the bank and get your money. The ATM machines weren't being, restocked and everything, and they had nothing. And I think that created a mental issue with them, is that, hey, what am I going to do? So you had the volatility of the metals market going crazy, and people started looking at another means of investment than the normal conventional ways of doing things. And what that did was then that triggered the rush into the numismatics and into the precious metals market, because that provided them an avenue where they could have something in their hands. They could buy it. They could buy a roll of eagles. They could buy gold coins and everything. They could put it in their safe at the house or whatever. And it was something tangible they could hold in their hands. And at least you could barter for a loaf of bread or something like that, where if your dollars were in the bank you couldn't get to, then there was issues. So then what we saw is then the internet blew up. Everybody started shopping and buying off of that. Well, the counterfeiters of coins and precious metals saw that as a big opportunity to start focusing in on the numismatic industry and the precious metals industry, and started doing all kinds of advertising. I mean, they went directly to the social media platforms, websites. The counterfeiters were buying hundreds and hundreds of domains. And the key to what they were trying to do is that their marketing plan is that if I have 1,000 domains that I bought, each domain I want to make 250,000 in a 2-week period, and then I'll shut that down and go to another one. They were using Facebook pop-up ads as a way to entice and prey on individuals that are uneducated in precious metals in the numismatic marketplace. But these people were so scared of what was going on. They wanted to funnel their money into something else, and that's what was happening. But that targeted them as victims, and that raised the red flags of the counterfeiters. Organized groups and individuals have found a way to buy counterfeits through these black market websites, or not even black market. We're talking about Alibaba and those type of websites where you can buy rolls of counterfeits, although they advertise them as showing being copy or fake, counterfeit, or whatever. But in actuality, in the ones that we have bought through these websites, is 100% of the times the ones that we target have come back and have been counterfeit. And so you can see what it did was, you might have had, the internet was a big part of buying power. But when COVID hit, it was 10 times you had the audience than you did previous to that. Right. So that gave them the opportunity to go in all kinds of directions. But the other problem with that is that not only hurt victims, just the normal individual or the business investor or whatever the case may be, but they took it a little farther. They actually violated the intellectual property rights of coin dealerships, of organizations such as P&G, ANA, because they used creative marketing techniques to prey on those individuals that are uneducated in these two areas. So when you look at one of their sites and see that you see a video of them putting mint tubed eagles in a green monster box, and then putting the tape around it, and then it shows it rolling out the door into an armored car and everything. You think you're getting it from the U.S. Mint. When you see in their ad as it scrolls down that we are associated with the ANA, PNG, ICTA at that time, and now it's changed to NCBA. What they were trying to do is to give credibility to their products. And even in the verbiage that they have in their ads, it sounded great. They did great research in there and putting it all together. But we pick those apart when we see those, and we can see that they're using templates, basically the same thing, just using a different, organization or a dealership and everything. But you have to realize is when they're using a dealership logo or brand and everything, you're not only hurting the reputation of that, but you're losing a lot of money when it turns around that now there's some credibility. We've seen a lot of U.S. Mint products being counterfeited and everything. And, you don't want people to be scared of buying U.S. Mint products. But they are counting everything within a Mint product. That's the outside packaging. That's the holder that it's in. They're even counterfeiting the certificate of authenticity in there. And it's unless you've looked at it and you really research it, you really pick it apart, and you realize that when you order stuff that you can't get a refund, you can't get in contact with them. And then when we investigate it and everything, we see that they're using addresses that are ghost addresses. And when you look and see where those locations are, it's in an empty field, or it's in a warehouse district with nothing there. So again, it's creating major problems we see every day, and we are attacking it from different forefronts. So that's kind of what we're looking at, and again, it's becoming a major problem, and I don't think it's going to get any better anytime soon, because the technology is getting so good that even some of the pros in the business are getting stumped on some of them. These things, because when we see a flaw, or we see a minting error or whatever, and it's advertised, a week later it's corrected and new products been out, and so now you have to look at something else, whether it's a different metal. You can't just use the conventional ways of the ping test and so forth. You've got to use all those different types of tests right now, because they're just trying to pull the wool over everybody's eyes and changing metals and so forth. So, in a nutshell, that's kind of what we're being faced with.
I point out that, Dana, you said that the sort of the bigger dealers or, have the in-house experience to be able to kind of ascertain if coins are spurious. I think that's actually getting much harder, because, Jack Young writes a series of articles for us where he describes families of counterfeit coins, where maybe the counterfeiters take a host coin that's genuine, they replicate it, beat it up a little bit in their recreations, and they have been successful in getting these into third-party holders, like genuine third-party holders. They're the minority of coins that get submitted that get through that. But to what Doug was saying, I've seen the Facebook ads that he's talking about. They'll appear, there'll be some, it looks like you're going to actual brick and mortar coin shop. When you click on it, there's pictures of jewelry cases of coins and books in the back, and it looks like they're all about education. And then they'll have graded Morgan dollars or something for sale. We had a reader of our site about 2 weeks ago buy 10 of these coins, these PCGS graded Morgan dollars, supposedly PCGS graded coins. He gets them, and all of the serial numbers are the same. So they didn't even bother to print like a sequence of serial numbers for these fake coins. They just gave him 10 copies of the same counterfeit, and then he paid $25 a coin, which that's one thing that you have to be aware of. Like, don't let your own enthusiasm and this belief you're getting a good deal color over the correct amount of suspicion you should have about a reputable third-party graded Morgan dollar in a nice uncirculated condition. And so what we're seeing on our end is a lot of brand confusion, because Facebook ads can lend a ton of credibility to a counterfeiting operation, because people are seeing their family members and their friends and all of these people they already trust and interface with. So when they're given a spurious ad, they're not on guard. They just sort of take it for granted that a big company like Facebook wouldn't allow a bunch of criminals to sell scams on their site, and apparently there is no check for that. They just allow this to happen. And then when it comes to the material that's out there in circulation, it's not just collector coins. I think, Dana, you were telling me when we were on the phone last that you saw like pallets of circulating quarters in a warehouse before that were all fake. So this isn't just you don't just run the risk of buying a coin that's not real and losing money on that, but we're actually running the risk of having fake coins just in the regular channels of commerce for probably the first time since the colonial period.
Right. So this is, a cottage industry that is becoming more than a cottage. It's becoming a house, and maybe even bigger than that. And they're knocking off modern bullion products. They're knocking off vintage coins. It used to be just a minor problem with vintage coins, and now they're adapting in real time, as Doug mentioned, and they're becoming more sophisticated as time passes, because as knowledge is imparted on them why it's bad, they react to that to fix the errors that they've had. And it's a growing problem. And it is not just, vintage coins. They're knocking off US quarters, for one thing. I mean, Beth Deischer showed me at a fun show a couple of years ago, a couple coins she picked up in change, a couple quarters she picked up in change from the B line, which is the toll road from the Orlando airport to the convention center. And I looked at them, I said, well, they're pretty bad, beat up, but what about them, Beth? And she had a whole bag of them behind the table that she'd picked up when this problem was just discovered, and said, these are all Chinese counterfeits. And what they were doing was the design was a little off. So they would damage them, pummel them, make them look like they were horribly circulated to hide the design flaws. But there were, thousands of them hitting the market because they were jamming up counting machines, high sophisticated counting machines that Purolator and Brinks had, because some of them were a little out of round through the aging process that they used. And one of my P&G colleagues went to a warehouse, not me, but one of my P&G colleagues went to a warehouse in Manhattan a couple of years ago to look at product that he was asked to do by Homeland Security. And it was 22 crates of quarters, 2,000 pounds each, all Chinese knockoffs of US quarters. And they were pretty close to the actual metal composition, but they had a flaw in them that I'm not going to discuss now, but a flaw that we know about. So they're knocking off everything. And the public needs to be aware of this so they can do what they need to do, their due diligence. It's important that the public understands that there is a problem and that they do need to drill down. If I had a nickel for every time I reported on Facebook spam, this is spam, that a monster box that was getting advertised for a couple $1,000s less than it should have been trading for, was a spurious product. And then you go, like Doug said, you go to the website that's advertising the product and it looks good, but there's nothing behind it. So it's highly important that people on the street that want to buy, good that's too good to be true is too good to be true. Number one, use your common sense. And more importantly, deal with professionals in the industry who at least have the wherewithal to be the first gatekeeper to make sure that the product that they're delivering is legitimately correct product, authentic for what it's supposed to be, whether it's vintage or not. And they are now the counterfeiters are now trying to knock off PCGS holders. Doug Davis, you had some of those very same Morgan dollars at the fund show in January. You showed me at your table. And Doug has done an incredible job, but it's a small, he's a small operation compared to what we're facing, which is why it's imperative that Doug and the ACEF get as much support from the community at large and even past that as possible. We're grateful that we have Homeland Security and Secret Service involved, and the dealer community. P&G members have volunteered to be authenticators if they're called upon. And we're grateful for that, but it's a big problem. And we need to have as much support as possible, which is why I'm grateful that you're having us on today, Charles, so we can discuss it and try and help get the word out there of what you can do to make sure that you're protected if you're an individual customer, and how you can help to support the ACEF and the fight that it's up against in protecting the integrity of the product.
Doug, let me ask you a question. Like you have a sort of a background in law enforcement. What is the profile of these criminals? Are these domestic opportunists, organized criminal syndicates? Is this foreign criminal syndicates? Is this state economic warfare? I mean, what really at the heart of this is behind this problem that we're facing?
Well, number one is you got the counterfeits. Number one is they're after the dollar. They're after the profit. They see a way to make some money, pulling the wool over people's eyes. Again, the uneducated and everything. We're seeing it in some different avenues from the standpoint of the manufacturers. But the manufacturers have to have a way of distributing this, this product. And what we're seeing is, and I'll give you an example. Last year, we seized 5,000 U.S. Silver Eagles coming into the DFW airport, and we worked with Customs and Border Protection and the local Secret Service office. Had an expert, P&G expert, go out there with us. We authenticated them as being counterfeit and everything. And then what we saw is that it was coming in from China, but it was coming into a business located 5 miles from my office, which was great at that particular time. And based on the address of that location, it was in an industrial district and everything. So when we saw where that address was, and at the time that we had the product arrived at DFW, we actually went and set up surveillance at that location at the same time that we were out at the airport and seizing that. And found out in front, as we looked, is that there was just boxes of stuff coming in to that location. And so once we found out what kind of an operation was, it was a distribution point for a lot of different other products. But across the street, the highway, was a large Asian population strip center, huge malls and stuff like that. And so we figured out, and based on some of the packaging that we had people go in and see where they were being sent to from that distribution point, it was going to those type facilities. So that particular distribution point or distributor there then was distributing to other places, going to flea markets or going to these Asian bazaars or whatever. So again, you're seeing it's going from the manufacturer to a distributor that has a organized group, or it may not be organized group, but you have buyers that are looking for that, and they can see the opportunity to make that. For example, if they bought off of Alibaba or AliExpress or whatever, the ad shows on Alibaba or Express, it shows copy on those coins, but when you buy them, we've never seen it where there's been a copy or fake or whatever. So they take those rolls that they're buying and take them, set up at the flea market and put them for $5 or $10 under cost and getting rid of them. But then the other thing that we're seeing is that we are actually making the good, honest person turn into a potential criminal, because they ordered 3 rolls for investment of these Eagles, put them in their safe, and thinking that's an investment tool for them at a later date. But then in a couple of weeks, there's a problem with the family, a car problem. They need the money, so they take them out. They take them to the local dealers, and he says, well, these are counterfeit. Well, okay, counterfeit. So he goes, well, heck, I'm out of money. I still need to get my car fixed, whatever the case may be. So what does he do? He takes them to another dealer, tries to sell it, and then he goes to another one until he finds somebody that is not educated, even from a professional standpoint, and sells them. And then right there, from a law enforcement standpoint, what he has done is he has developed a sequence of events that he's knowingly, and intentionally going in there to commit fraud, because he knows after the third time that they tell him that they're no good and he finds a fourth person that'll buy them, then, that's enough probable cause and enough to have him arrested for fraud and type. So we're seeing that it's different areas. You can have organized groups, you can have organized just single individuals and everything that are taking the opportunity to, of what's going on. And again, it's just, it's blowing up. I mean, and it's getting to the point where, I think everybody needs to be concerned. And like Dana was saying, we encourage everybody to make sure that they're using credible dealers such as P&G dealers or, A&A dealers or your local dealer. It doesn't matter. You have to vet the people that you're buying from. You can't buy off of Craigslist. You can't buy off of Facebook pop-up ads or websites that are advertising these types of things unless you do your homework, unless you do the research and you know and feel comfortable with who you're dealing with. And that's what we encourage. But from the standpoint of ACEF and the Anti-Counterfeiting Task Force, there's a lot of things that we're doing to help enhance investigations and enhance education within law enforcement, the legislators and everything. We, on a daily basis, are averaging and monitoring over 200 websites and social media platforms that are selling counterfeits. We buy off of these platforms and websites and everything to ensure that what they're selling is legitimate products, and 99.9% of the time, the ones that we're investigating are not. Once we find out that those sites are selling counterfeit products, then we turn it over to the agencies that we feel like they're going to go after those individuals. That's Secret Service. We built great relationships with Secret Service and the different levels of Customs and Border Protection and everything. And we funnel information to them. We funnel information to the U.S. Mint in regards to the U.S. Mint products that are being counterfeited. And then, like Dana was saying, we have a group of experts within ACTF and ACEF that we are able across the country, wherever an agency, law enforcement agency needs assistance out on the scene or whatever the case may be, we will get them that expert out there to authenticate those products. And we get calls for that all the time. We will fly there to make sure that we can assist those agencies. But I want to give you a good example of how bad this problem of it is that Customs and Border Protection did a project. It was about an 8-week deal of screening for just coins in one of the international mail facilities. And at that point, they called us and asked us if we could provide an expert and come and help them evaluate what they had seized in one of the ports. Well, it turned out we went out to the facility and everything. There was over 1,500 packages that came in from, and 99.9% of them came from China. Each package contained anywhere from 50 to 100 and something coins. The average package we valued at about $1,000, $1,200. And when you think about it, so if that's the case, then you have 1,500 victims that have been taken by counterfeits, and you multiply that. And a lot of these packages contain 2.5 Indian gold pieces, they 1 ounce eagles, 1 ounce silver eagles, and others and everything. So then that alone, just in that short period of time, the amount there was a little over $3.5 million in just that short period. Now you've got these type of facilities all across the country, and you multiply that on a daily basis and everything. You can see that the numbers of victims are huge. The amount of money is huge. And ACEF and ACTF is playing an important role in supporting law enforcement that really doesn't have the experience and education in the numismatic industry or the precious metal industry. And, you know, with our assistance, they are gaining momentum in trying to attack these issues. Secret Service does a great job. Customs and Border Protection does a great job, but they cannot do it alone because they don't have the expertise or the knowledge. And that's where we come into play in helping them, educate them. Well, recently in October, we presented a class to over 50 different agencies in Kansas. We've done it in Florida. We've done it in Long Beach, where we had about 75 agencies from across the country. And most of those were Customs and Border Protection, Secret Service, and Postal Inspection, Treasury Department. We have one Treasury agent that works very closely with me that helps teach these classes across the country. And but our efforts in this is that we not only do those kind of things, but we're gathering data, we're developing trends and patterns. We're trying to identify those counterfeiters. We're trying to locate those factories in China. We're trying to identify the organized groups that are buying these in large numbers and getting them out on the street. And you have to remember that, like you were talking earlier, is this organized groups, small groups, individuals that have taken it on themselves to find a way to make easy money in doing it. We're even targeting those individuals because when we see those websites and we see packages and reports that come in, then we do a background. We go where it's located, you know, and try to find who's sending it, who's buying it, and then we'll flag those addresses and try to find those locations and individuals that are trying to sell them. But the victims, where we play an important part with the victims, we're advocates for those individuals. And when they have problems with Facebook or they have problems with, and these guys are really good when they do their web pages and everything, because the number one method of payment that they like to use is PayPal. We've been very successful in several cases and everything. Is when people could not get their money back, we have given some letters of support showing that the products they did were counterfeit. We give them a history of what's going on within the market and give them a number of other websites and everything that are doing the same thing. And that provides them some proof that that individual, they're not trying to scam PayPal. They're trying to get their money back from somebody that's fraudulently selling them counterfeit products. So with that letter, a lot of times we can get that reversed into their favor and get their money refunded. But the information that we get and receive off of those reports and everything, that information we gather together, we send it to the agencies that we feel like are going to take it and run with the ball. But we have to remember, we're doing a huge amount of work to support Secret Service and Customs and Border Protection and those agencies that are, should be investigating, but there's not enough manpower for them to do that. It's too much. So the work we do supplements them. And a lot of times we can build a case for them that keeps them from having to do all the background and do all that. When we can go out, and the good thing about it, ACEF and our members and the dealers that help us go out and authenticate them, they're doing it on their own time. And it's great when I can make a call and, Secret Service needs somebody to authenticate, and I'm able to get on the phone and I have somebody within about 45 minutes. I have yet to not provide them with an expert to go out on a case or to one of their field offices in less than 24 hours. So that's critical in those those type of incidents and everything. And what that does is that lends credibility in the work that we're doing from the law enforcement standpoint. The thing of it is when they find a resource that can help put a case together without them doing a lot of work, hey, that's what investigators want to do. And I've been a cop and police chief for 40 years. And believe me, I want to go to somebody that knows what they're doing, that can help me put that case together real quick, educate me to where I can help that victim feel comfortable that I know what I'm doing. It's kind of like if you had a burglary and somebody came out and you were a regular investigator and said, oh, I had a burglary and I just lost my, seated dollar collection in PCGS AU 58 or whatever. And the guy's going to look at you like, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. Well, you can see the look on that victim's face saying, well, nothing's going to happen. Well, we're providing them resources that we can also help the victim feel comfortable. At least we're going to give them enough information to do a credible investigation and take it as far as they can. So that's kind of where we're at with it. But we can't do it without the support of the precious metal industry and the numismatic industry and all those that are involved with what's taking place. But the key to it is that people out there, they need to be educated and they need to go to reputable dealers when they're buying. Unless you vet, unless you know and feel comfortable with that, you could be a victim of a counterfeit crime. So,
for collectors looking for some good news on this horizon, beyond the fact that the law enforcement is getting educated, that the industry is mobilized, that we have Doug, we have your incredible talent being put into to this operation. Are there any success stories about criminal prosecutions or businesses being shut down or targets of investigations being brought up on very serious charges, which I think is what the collecting community wants to see? They want to start seeing some of these thieves being put away.
Well, I think what's hurt us in the last 3 years because of COVID is a lot of those investigations, is slow and everything. We're not going to see that. I can tell you without a reasonable doubt that we have major investigations ongoing right now with indictments in the future. But the other thing of it is when we send this individual reports out to these agencies and everything, we're not getting, any information back that they're going out and investigating them, but I know that they are. But it's, and that's one of the things that's hard, is not seeing these arrests made and everything, but knowing that there's ACEF and ACTF that's going after them, providing them with information. And then the key thing that we're beginning to do this year, which is one of our strategic initiatives, is that we've got to take the load off of the feds. We've got to give them some other resources that they can use and utilize. And that goes to the individual states being given the ability to take these cases from the state level. And that's going to require every state having a counterfeit statute that they can use to deal with the counterfeit issues. And that means that any local, state, county law enforcement officer can make an arrest on somebody that's selling a counterfeit coin, and they can take it with the state. And what's good about that is the one that goes in with that one roll of silver eagles, he may just do it once, but then he may be one of those guys that's going to get out and do it again and again. But it gives the local agencies the ability to attack it from the local side. And then we can really push the big cases to the feds, but we can still keep these guys in our intelligence files. We can see these businesses that are selling it. And then, when you get all the elements for the case and everything, and you can get a warrant for them and then you can go arrest them and everything. But that's kind of where we need to take it. And the other aspect of it is that continuing education, we need to get more out there. And that's what we're going to be doing starting this year. Right now, in the last couple of years, it's been developing law enforcement and having them recognize how big the problem of it is and what their role is, even though it's just never been brought to the forefront like it has now. Secret Services, and they'll tell you that they really are not into the coins. It's at paper money. But now it's becoming such a big problem that they're beginning to work with us, and they're wanting to know more about it and educate it in that respect. So that's what our goals and, again, our strategic initiatives are going to be. We got a great group. Our work groups that we have people involved. Dana's been extremely helpful. Anytime phone calls, but that's the way all the P&G members have been. The experts that we have outside of P&G have all been very cooperative. And it's going to take us all working together to make sure that, it's not compromising, our industries to the point that people are afraid to buy. We don't want that to happen. We want them to be educated and making sure that they're, again, vetting who they're buying from, credibility, and then hopefully that'll solve some of the issues.
So Dana, as a dealer and a leader in the P&G, what are some sort of, for collectors, what are some telltale signs that you're dealing with a reputable business selling you authentic products? And then speaking to your dealer community, what are some best practices that you recommend other dealers employ when they're dealing with this issue to make sure that they protect themselves and their customers?
Well, from a client standpoint, you just need to know who you're dealing with, and that's long-term dealers who, this is our industry, this is our livelihood. So it's in our best interest to make sure that the products that we're buying, because it's valuable inventory, are correct. So with my business, I look at almost everything that comes in our door that's not from a mint distributor or from another trusted trading partner. So anything that comes in our door that we haven't sold, we vet it, and we use sophisticated testing to make sure the merchandise is correct. From a dealer to dealer transaction standpoint, you just need to know who you're dealing with. And it's, we get hung up on price and making profits, especially when the market's tighter, like we're going into a tighter market now. COVID gave us a really good market where we could earn a little bit better margins, and the appetite from the public was really good. But it's when the market gets tight, dealers that aren't established or new dealers, they're tempted to push things a little bit. So you need to know who you're dealing with. And it's always best to make sure that you're on cutting edge for what the information is, where the products are coming from. Well, it's mostly China, but what the problems are and what to look for. I've literally taken a drill to a kilogram gold bars in the past when I've had to, because they didn't test right or they looked a little funny. And so you just have to really, as from a dealer standpoint, we have to protect ourselves first so we can protect our clients. From a client standpoint, it's becoming educated that there is a problem. A low price isn't always a good deal, and it's best to deal with a long-term dealer. And it's easy to drill down. As Doug said, some of these places, they don't have addresses, or the address is an empty field. Or if they want to get paid by PayPal, that's not really a traditional method of payment for most dealers. Now there are younger dealers coming up. There's groups on Facebook where there's a lot of younger dealers, and that's great. It's new blood for our industry, but they don't have the experience that we have. Some of the older dealers do. That doesn't mean they're unethical or they're going to be challenged, but they just have to be careful. So it's just an awareness issue, and it's an issue of making sure that you have the right tools to make sure the integrity of the product is correct, and helping to support the community that is trying to defend these issues, which is we need everybody to help as much as they can.
So Doug, what is the website for the ACEF, and so that the people listening to this podcast can check it out and see how they might be able to contribute?
Well, that's at acefonline.org. And there's a lot of good information on the website. There's going to be a lot more coming in the next couple of months, we're going to be pushing on a lot more. The key to it is evaluating exactly what you want to put on that website to make sure that we're not giving too much information out to the bad guys and everything, but still educating people of some of the things that are taking place. The other key thing of it is they can contact me at any time through the website, and we're going to get back in touch with them, or one of our investigators are going to get back with them and everything. It may take a little time because right now we're inundated with offenses coming in all the time, and what we're trying to do is to work with those individuals and trying to give them a strategic plan of what they can do from step one, so forth and so on to help them out. And that's the key component. But we can't keep up the work that we're doing, again, without the support. ACEF and ACTF relies strictly on donations from the numismatic community and the precious metals industries, and collectors and investors and everything, because they have a vested interest in this, and to make sure that if we don't take care of the problem, then it's just, again, it compromises the integrity of the whole situation. And that's what we're trying to do our best at doing.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you for all the hard work that you put into this. And thank you for coming on and joining us and informing the community about the work that's going on. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Charles, for the ability to help get some of this information out. And Doug is doing an incredible job. He is really the spearhead here, and he needs as much support and help as he can get. And he's done an amazing job, and he's got a lot of work to do. And any support we can give him in particular is what we need to do. So thank you.
All right. Thank you. You guys have a wonderful weekend.
All right. Thank you. Take care.